So while humans have long searched for alien life, like maybe in here, it might exist in one of the last places that we thought to look. New research is pointing at Venus. This is a planet with a surface temperature hot enough to melt lead, as a spot where something could potentially be alive right now. So joining us this morning is CTV science and technology specialist Dan Riskin. Are you there? Hello.
Yes, good morning.
Not on Venus. You're in your house. I can see that there.
No.
So this new research points at the presence of ammonia in Venus's atmosphere as a reason to believe that life could exist there. So what's the connection between the two?
Yeah, so the surface, well, that's probably a write-off. I mean, 450 degrees Celsius, that's like setting your oven to 800. Not really conducive to life. Also, the pressure on the surface is like 90 times the pressure on Earth. But up in the clouds, if you get away from the surface, it's quite a bit cooler. And the only issue there is that it's so acidic that life couldn't possibly exist. But there have been these trace recordings of ammonia, and a new paper put out by some very well-respected scientists in a very well-respected journal suggests that ammonia might be made by things living in the clouds, you know, like bacterial type life that's floating around in the wind, creates this ammonia. That would have the effect of increasing the pH to a more livable range, they say. And that also would explain some of the trace amounts of oxygen that have been recorded from the atmosphere. And so they're saying that this new way of thinking about things makes a lot of sense. It explains a lot of the anomalies they've seen. And they're saying that the most logical explanation for this is life. They say that is a better explanation than not life to explain the chemicals they're seeing. So those clouds of Venus may have some big surprises for us.
Is this part of that research, Dan, that was published a couple of years ago that detailed the discovery of phosphine in the atmosphere?
Yeah, great question. So phosphine is this molecule that was found using radio telescopes in the clouds of Venus, and that suggested life because phosphine here on Earth is created by living organisms, and we couldn't think of a way that it could get there otherwise. Those findings have been called into question. People think that it wasn't really phosphine that was being seen. It might have been sulfur dioxide, but that's a completely independent path of inquiry from the one we're talking about now. So it's two different sort of ways of getting at the same idea that there may be life in the clouds, and certainly it keeps the question going.
So these discoveries have generated a lot of interest from agencies like NASA, a lot of creative ways being thought of how to discover what is there. What can we expect to see on the Venus front in the future? Lots of talk on Mars, but what are we going to see at Venus?
We keep going to Mars. Mars is great. I got nothing against Mars, but we got to go back to Venus, right? I mean, so there's a spacecraft there now. It's a Japanese spacecraft. The U.S. hasn't gone there since the 80s. So there are a couple of missions that have been planned. One is called Veritas. One is called Da Vinci Plus. Those missions are supposed to launch around 2030, something like that, which sounds like the distant future, but it's actually less than a decade away. And so that's, you know, going back, sampling what's in those clouds above Venus and checking to see if we can find life there, because, boy, that would just change everything if we found out there was life somewhere else in the solar system.
Okay, speaking of NASA, you know, if we don't find life on other planets, NASA's former chief scientist has this idea about helping to foster it. What can you tell us about his plans to terraform planets like Venus and Mars?
Yeah, it's straight out of Star Trek. I mean, so Jim Green was the head of science at NASA for a long time, head of planetary science as well. And what he's basically saying is we need to get out there and terraform these planets to make it easier for us to live there. So for Mars, we could put up a big magnetic shield to protect it from the solar rays that are ripping its atmosphere off. Then it would build its own atmosphere over time and make it easier for us to live there. For Venus, let's put up a big sun shield so that it's not getting as much sun, and that would help cool it down so it becomes habitable for humans. The only issue is, if there is something living there, it's probably not going to do very well with those kinds of modifications. So those kinds of plans assume that we've looked as well as we can and that there isn't life out there. And I think for a lot of people, they'll never want to stop looking because there's always a chance it's under that other rock and we just haven't found it yet.
That sounds like right out of a movie, like Earth is going to come in and block out the sun and then kill the life that's there, and then there'll be a galactic war.
Yes, I mean, humans have done this every time we come to a new landmass. We kill the animals that live there. Whenever humans come into contact with humans they haven't met before, there's usually a conflict. So, you know, we've learned the lesson already. So I'm a little surprised to hear NASA's former chief scientist saying, yeah, let's go take the solar system is ours. Let's go take it. Because, you know, if there is someone out there, I think they're going to have an argument with that. And I'm sure they might have some tools to fight back.
You know, I love planet Earth. It's a little stressful here right now, so it's always good to look to the skies and chat with you. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.